Hello, you're watching Afghannews with Mohsen Jamal. The man tapped to take over as the top US commander in Afghanistan is endorsing the size and pace of the 30,000 troop withdrawal laid out by President Barack Obama last week. Marine Lieutenant General John Allen, in a questionnaire he completed for his nomination hearing Tuesday, says the drawdown will impress on Afghan leaders that they must urgently increase the size of their own security forces to take over as US troops leave. Other military leaders, including the man he would replace, General David Petraeus, have said Obama's drawdown plan was riskier and more aggressive than they would have liked. Allen says a key US challenge will be filling a shortfall of hundreds of trainers and mentoring teams. Afghanistan's central bank governor has reportedly resigned and fled to the United States, arguing his life is in danger over a corruption probe targeting well-connected figures. Abdul Qadir Fitrat, chairman of the Afghanistan Bank, made his announcement while on a visit to the United States, where he has permanent residency, according to several news reports. He said he feared political interference and reprisals over his investigation into the near collapse last year of Kabul Bank, the largest private lender. In April, in Parliament, Fitrat named high-profile figures who were allegedly involved in a mammoth corruption scandal at Kabul Bank. The chief spokesman for President Hamid Karzai, Wahid Umar, meanwhile on Monday confirmed that Fitrat had fled to the United States, but cast doubts on claims that his life was in danger. More than 250,000 Afghans have fled their villages during the past 2 years of fighting, Refugees International says in a report critical of US Special Forces and other international and Afghan military operations for exacerbating the displacement of civilians. The total cited in the report released on Tuesday is less than 1% of the country's estimated population of 28 million people, but it reflects people's concerns about their security as the war here nears its 10-year mark and the US is poised to start withdrawing combat forces. It noted that Afghan civilians are caught in the crossfire of an intensifying military campaign against insurgents, while more than 91,000 have fled their villages since the beginning of this year, compared with 42,000 during the same period last year, the report said. Refugees International, based in Washington, D.C., blames the increase on military operations by Afghan forces in the foreign military contingent called the International Security Resistance Force. The U.S.-led military coalition says a senior leader of an Al-Qaeda-linked terror group has been captured in northern Afghanistan dressed up like a woman. NATO said on Tuesday the capture was latest in a series of cases involving male militants disguised as females. It says a joint Afghan coalition force apprehended the leader of the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan and two of his associates during a night-time operation Monday in Kunduz city. NATO says the militant wore a burqa. A U.S. federal judge sentenced a former Blackwater security guard on Monday to 13 months in prison for shooting and killing an Afghan citizen in 2009. The judge also ordered 29-year-old Justin Cannon to serve 2 years of supervised release after his prison term ends. Cannon and a second Blackwater guard, Christopher Drotlev, 31, were convicted of involuntary manslaughter in the May 5, 2009 shooting of Romal Muhammad Naeem, an unarmed Afghan civilian. Drotlev was sentenced to 3 years and 1 month in prison on June 14th. Both Cannon and Drotlev were accused of leaving their military base without authorization to transport local interpreters. Washington's special envoy to Afghanistan said Monday that Pakistan must prove it wants an end to the war by preventing militants from hiding out on its soil and enabling those who launch attacks on the Afghan side of the border. Mark Grossman, U.S. Special Representative to Afghanistan and Pakistan, said in Kabul that discussions among Afghanistan, Pakistan and the United States being held this week in the Kabul are important to coordinate efforts to find a political solution to the nearly decade-long war. Grossman said at a news conference that they also are an opportunity to clearly conveyed to Pakistani officials that part of their responsibility for bringing peace is to stop supporting insurgents, safe havens, and those who attack Afghans and international forces in Afghanistan. Grossman and representatives from more than 40 nations are attending a meeting of the International Contact Group's 11th meeting. Meanwhile, Michael Steiner, German representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan, said at the news conference that the international community's engagement will not end in 2014 when Afghan security forces are to have the lead responsibility for security across the nation, a process he said is on track. Libya has rejected the arrest warrants issued for its leader Muammar Gaddafi, his son Saif al-Islam, and the country's intelligence chief for alleged atrocities committed against political opponents. The ruling is a cover for NATO, which is still trying to assassinate Gaddafi. Mohammed al-Gamoudi, Libya's justice minister, said. Deputy Foreign Minister Khalid Kayyem said the International Criminal Court functions as a European foreign policy vehicle. The ICC said the three men were wanted for their role in suppressing the Libyan uprising in which civilians have been murdered and persecuted by Gaddafi's forces. The announcement was met with celebrations in rebel-held areas in Libya. Syrian opposition figures have declared support for the peaceful uprising in the country, calling for a peaceful transition to democracy. About 160 critics of the regime met in the capital Damascus on Monday at a conference approved by the government. In a document they called a pledge they vote to remain part of Syria's peaceful uprising for freedom and democracy and pluralism, to establish a democratic state through peaceful means. They also called for an immediate end to the security crackdown, the right to demonstrate peacefully, the release of political prisoners, freedom of the press, the safe return of refugees, and moves to prevent foreign intervention. And that Michelle Bachmann has formally launched a bid for the United States presidency from her hometown of Waterloo, Iowa. Bachmann, a member of the House of Representatives from Minnesota and a rising star in the Tea Party movement, said on Monday that the U.S. cannot afford to re-elect President Barack Obama in next year's presidential elections. Bachmann will be looking to challenge current Republican frontrunner Mitt Romney. Bachmann, a fierce critic of gay marriage and abortion, also addressed the growing U.S. national debt, rising gasoline prices, scores of home foreclosures, and high unemployment. And that was all for now. Thanks for staying with us.